Today's show is sponsored by Folium Biosciences, the world's largest vertically integrated producer, manufacturer, and global distributor of hemp-derived cannabinoids. Folium Biosciences knows how difficult it is to run a cannabis business. That's why they created a suite of financial products to help their customers succeed. Their services include funding, merchant processing, insurance, and banking. Go to foliumbiosciences.com or listen to Hemp Baron's podcast to learn how Folium Biosciences can help your company get a line of credit, liability insurance, a bank account, and much, much more. That's foliumbioscience.com.
So acquisition activities are definitely part of our global strategy. So I'd be very shocked if there weren't more acquisitions in our future. The big part is that as acquisitions get larger, they may start to contribute more revenue to our top line, but we try and keep things 50-50. And our base is much larger now. We're having strong growth in the business. We just completed our 10K, and that's all public now. We've had some really strong growth this year.
It's the MJBulls Podcast, a show about raising cannabis capital. I'm Dan Humiston, and on today's show, how this company, through a combination of organic growth and acquisitions, has become the largest ancillary cannabis company in the industry. Today in the Raising Cannabis Capital series, we are joined by Zach Venegas, who's the CEO of Helix TCS. Zach, welcome to the MJBulls Podcast.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, Helix TCS has quietly become the largest ancillary cannabis company in the industries. And some of the companies under the Helix umbrellas are names that we all know, like BioTrack THC, Cannabase, Helix Security, and soon, as soon as this deal closes, you're in Americanics. And what makes this so impressive is just how quickly you've gobbled this organization together. I mean, congratulations, Zach. This is quite an accomplishment in such a short period of time.
Thank you very much. It's been exciting.
Yeah, I would say. Helix TCS is a publicly traded company.
Correct.
Yeah, it's trading at the OTCBQ under the symbol HLIX. And we're going to talk about each of your subsidiaries in a minute. But let's start off. Can you give us a brief overview of what Helix TCS does?
Sure, and I think it's a great place to start because the logic behind everything that we do is simply this. We map critical infrastructure into the legal cannabis industry, no more, no less. We're very focused on bringing to growers, retailers, extractors, those pieces of the infrastructure system that they really need to stay compliant and operational, and we give them best-in-class services in those particular service areas, and we leave them to do things that they do best, like grow or retail or have infused products or whatever it is that they're doing. So they leave that to us, and then we help them be more successful and manage their risk all throughout the value chain.
I see. So let's just start off. We'll go through each of the subsidiaries, starting with BioTrack THC, and we'll just talk about each one. Give us sort of an overview of what each one does.
Sure. So BioTrack THC is the oldest and largest seed-to-sale compliance software in the mix. As you know, cannabis, because it's still a federally scheduled substance, has requirements to be tracked at every stage of its life cycle, everything from 4 centimeters high or so, all the way to being sold. And so BioTrack THC tracks all aspects of that. Also, that data itself is very important to the efficient and proper running of either a grower or a retailer, so that we supply the software that allows them both to track those aspects of their business. In addition, all states have retail and wholesale reporting requirements, and we supply those through that software.
Yeah, and I know like states will select a company to manage that, and you have quite a few states that BioTrack is the supplier for the state. How many states are you in right now?
Right. So we have 6 what we would call government contracts, and that is all throughout the United States. And so we have the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico as well. So each state is a bit different, has reporting requirements. We translate those reporting requirements into a usable software package that allows the state to extract the information they need to properly administer their cannabis program.
Okay. How about Cannabase?
So Catabase is the oldest wholesale marketplace in the industry. It's something like a negotiated transaction platform, almost like Craigslist with a wholesale market or a commodities market interface. That allows license-only retailers and wholesalers to buy and sell cannabis at weight, much like a commodity exchange.
I understand.
But Catabase is essentially a wholesale exchange, very similar to Americanics.
Okay. Talk about Americanics for a minute then.
So those are the two oldest exchanges. We happen to acquire them both because Catabase is a bit more interface-based, meaning people can negotiate through the app to get to a price and an amount that they want, whereas Americanics is focused just like commodity exchange. And it was founded by essentially commodity traders, and it had some very prominent commodity market personalities on its board. That one's very focused on buying, Kansas hard red wheat number 2, 2 tons of that at this price. It's done, and then it's set up for delivery. That market is much more similar to that style of commodity market than is the other.
Okay. This industry, probably more than any other, has such heightened security requirements. And I'm assuming that that's what Helix security subsidiary is all about.
Correct. And so Helix that was the place where we started. Although we always knew we would wind up in software and wholesale, you have to start somewhere. My partners and I had good experience in active security operations in places like Iraq and Africa and all these other places. We focus on that first because that gives us two very important advantages. One is sort of a source of industry regulation truth, because if you're focused on compliance security, you really understand in a granular way the regulations in and around moving and producing cannabis. You really understand who's compliant and who's not. And then number two, it gives you a feel for the op tempo of the industry, because we're moving plant, we're moving cash, we're moving people, we're moving product. And so you get a feel for what's really working and what's not, and also the trends and which ways the wind is blowing, so to speak, within the industry. It gave us a lot of ancillary intelligence about which way the market was going and allowed us to make good choices about our follow-on acquisitions and about which way we want to position ourselves within the industry.
Well, I'm just on the website right now, and this Helix Security, very, very comprehensive. I mean, you do it all. This is a one-stop shop when it comes to security. I want to take a minute to remind all of our listeners about a new podcast produced by MJBulls Media. Hemp Barons is a weekly show about the companies, products, and entrepreneurs who are using this amazing plant to create and improve the products we use every day. You can listen to Hemp Barons every Tuesday on Apple iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Well, let's jump forward. Tell us about the plans for the future. Do you plan to continue growing at this pace?
We have plans to grow at this pace or perhaps even faster. A lot of it really depends on how the industry rolls out. This year for us was a bit of a slow year in the sense that California didn't roll out as fast as everyone thought it would. I mean, we've been very careful about when and where we expend resources in rolling out. We don't just try and cover any market. But this year, when I say year, let's say going back 6 months in 2018 and so far in 2019, has really been about international expansion just as much as it's been about domestic expansion. And I think 2019 will see some significant domestic expansion within the U.S. We've got some great things in the works, but at the same time, everyone knows that the former president of Mexico, President Vicente Fox, has joined our board. We're focused on bringing our full product and service suite to international customers. There's a lot of international opportunities for Helix TCS for the full suite of business services. So that's going to be very exciting. I think people will see that in the year to come.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. Everybody that's on the show is talking about the international opportunities, and it's just all happening at once. We are so focused on the United States, the people that live here, and we don't realize that it's happening just as quickly in other places. So far, your growth pattern has been kind of 50-50, organic growth and maybe 50% acquisition. Is that the plan for moving forward? Is there opportunities for more acquisitions coming up?
So acquisition activities are definitely part of our global strategy. So I'd be very shocked if there weren't more acquisitions in our future. The big part is that as acquisitions get larger, they may start to contribute more revenue to our top line, but we try and keep things 50-50. And our base is much larger now. We're having strong growth in the business. We just completed our 10K, and that's all public now. We've had some really strong growth this year. We'll continue to see acquisitions, but we won't do so many that they overwhelm our organic growth or focus on right-sizing, creating strong organic growth that has to be an integral part of what we're doing. We still will try and focus things on keeping things balanced between acquisition and organic growth.
Okay. As we said at the beginning of the show, Helix TCS is a publicly traded company trading on the OTCQB under the symbol HLIX. And I noticed on your website, if you wanted information, there's a tab on the Helix website. It's called Investor Relation tab. So if anybody wants more information, wants to purchase some of their stock, I'd recommend going to their website and just clicking on the Investor Relations tab. So we've been speaking with Zach Venegas, CEO of Helix TCS. And as I said earlier, we'll have all of their information on the MJBulls website. So if you're interested in looking at their stock, or if you're a company that may fit within their portfolio and you think you might be an interesting acquisition, I'm sure Zach would love to speak to you. Zach, any last parting words for our listeners?
No, just to say again, thank you for the opportunity to talk about Helix on your show. We think it's going to be a great year for us, and I encourage anyone who's listening to go to our website and check us out and see if they like what we're doing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great year for the entire industry, but I love what you're doing, so keep it up.
Thank you very much.
Just a quick reminder that you can become an MJBulls member for just $4.99 per month and enjoy exclusive access to companies' pitch decks and the MJBulls Cannabis Capital Directory. Join today at MJBulls.com. Thanks for listening to the MJBulls podcast. To learn more about today's guest or to become a guest, visit our website at MJBulls.com. Today's show was produced by Bumminett Media, with original music composed by Jamie Humiston. I'm Dan Humiston, and you've been listening to the MJBulls podcast.